Hey everyone. So let's talk about the general will, kind of the dominant concept of Book Two of Rousseau's Social Contract. What is the general will? Well, it expresses the true interests of everyone, Rousseau says. It points toward the common good, which is, you could maybe infer from the latter. And it has the power to create laws. That's kind of its practical importance. That's what it really does in the world, is it results in the creation of laws if the social contract is being observed and operating properly. So here's another of those problems that I mentioned within Rousseau. Rousseau refuses to identify the general will with just the will of the majority. He refuses to just say that the result of an election is the same thing as the general will. Why does he do that? Why is he uncomfortable making that equation? For a couple of reasons. First, because, well, the majority can be wrong. And it's important to Rousseau that the general will can never be wrong. It represents, again, the true common good, the true interests of everyone, not just what they think their interests are. So the majority can be wrong, the general will can't. On a kind of deeper level, and related to that, is that, well, the majority can be wrong specifically about whether or not to have democracy itself. Of course, the right answer to that for Rousseau is yes. There's not really much question about that. You don't get to vote on the social contract because the social contract is what makes voting effectual in the first place. Elections and laws mean nothing unless the social contract is in place. So the majority can be wrong in the sense that you could imagine a situation in which people comes together and has a vote on whether or not to have a dictatorship, whether or not to get rid of democratic institutions that already exist and bring into power someone who's going to cancel all those institutions. That's conceivable, maybe in not such an obvious and direct way, but there are examples in history of this happening. So that's the main concern that Rousseau has, and he wants to, it seems, preserve the general will as this kind of ideal principle over and above the operations of real politics, right? It actually occurred to me that you could think of this as a kind of compromise between, to reference Crito from Plato, a compromise between respecting the will of the majority, or the opinion of the majority, and the opinion of the wise, right? In a sense, it kind of solves that dilemma, or attempts to solve that dilemma. You might admire this concept and what Rousseau's done here for that reason. He's provided a kind of basis, a kind of ideal according to which all our actions should aspire. All of our attempts at justice and attempts at creating a just society should aspire. On the other hand, the problem there is that it's unclear how exactly this can be implemented, since elections aren't it. Elections are useful, but they do not transparently represent what the general will is. So can that be implemented at all even is another question that's raised here, or is this just a purely kind of utopian ideal that will always remain a sort of limit to liberal society? That's all I'm going to say in these lectures about Rousseau. So thanks for listening.